Hey folks, I'm Richard Harleman and this is The Creekside. People have asked me on my other channel to do videos talking about what I've learned since leaving society, as I call it. And I struggled to figure out whether to put it on that channel or do a new one. And ultimately I decided to just do a video for this kind of thing, a channel for this kind of thing. And that way the other channel can just be about camping and maybe some of my life videos, since my life is also camping. So it's a Sunday. It's a beautiful Sunday in the summer where it's actually chilly enough that I can wear a wool flannel even though it's second day of August. So it's really nice. And it's pleasant here next to the creek in the shade. My mare is standing right there. My rooster's over here eating. It's just a really nice life that I live, in case you're not familiar with it. I currently sleep outside on a mattress. When it's a little cooler, or if it's really windy, I sleep in my van with the mattress, same mattress. And then in the wintertime, I have a 10x7 tiny cabin, as I call it. It's really well insulated. And so my life has become really simple, and it wasn't that way most of my life. It took doing this to really answer some questions that I had, because I struggled most of my life in normal society. I was very talented. I had things going for me, but a lot of things that never really worked together. And I constantly asked the question, why? And nobody could answer it. I was very religious, involved in church, and I would talk to any pastor or elder that I could, thinking that they would be able to answer my problem of what's wrong with me, essentially. And I never got any good answers. The closest I ever got to an answer was a pastor who told me, well, you have a lot of insecurities. That's all he told me. He didn't tell me this is what you need to do, this is your strengths, this is how you solve it. He just left it at that, which I took that because it was better than anything else I had ever been given. And so I focused on that. Okay, what's my security? What are my insecurities? And eventually I quit going to church because I just got tired of being told how to live by people who had no skin in the game of my life. They were happy to tell me to give them money and don't do this and you're a bad person for that. But they didn't know how to guide me or build me up. So like I say, I was making all these decisions based off of what they told me, but I started to realize they have no skin in the game. They don't know what my life is like. They're not over here helping me, and yet they're quick to give me their lame advice. So I quit going to church, and immediately my life started getting better. This was in my 30s by the time, and I barely ever missed a Sunday. And just didn't, and at the time I didn't know why. I just decided one morning, I don't feel like going to church, so I didn't go. And I had the best Sunday I had had in a long time. Sundays were horrible for me because I'd go to church, and then in the afternoon I'd just feel so empty and depressed and lonely. I dealt with a lot of loneliness. I don't anymore. So anyway, I guess I hope this background is important because it kind of sets up the stage going into this life. I always struggled getting along with people, and like I say, I didn't understand what the problem was, and it took getting out of society into this lifestyle that I knew I wanted all my life. Not all my life, early teens, I longed for this kind of life, but it took me until I think I was 40 by the time I finally did it. So maybe you guys can learn from my life of regret Mostly my life is a tragedy, but I enjoy good stories, and so tragedy is a good story. Fortunately, though, I am blessed that I got into horses. I got into this lifestyle when I still had some youth left in me. I'm 48 now, and a couple years ago, things I kind of started to slow down and not be as energetic about things as I always had been, which is kind of a shame. I'm sure a lot of younger people look at the way I live and think, man, if I lived like that, I'd be doing so much. And I'm sure they would. But a big part of this was minimizing, getting down to getting rid of all these false things in my life, all these vain pursuits. And that's mainly what I wanted to talk about in this video, is finding yourself. It's such a cheesy phrase that we have in society, but nobody really knows what that means. Well, some people do, but not many. A lot of relationships have been ruined because one or the other says, I got to find myself. And it's so vague that it's hard to take serious, and especially if somebody's abandoning their family, it's hard to take it serious. Fortunately, I don't have a family. I don't have a wife. I don't have any kids, never did. And so I didn't have to abandon anybody. But now I know I can say what that means, and hopefully from the tragedy of my life, I can benefit others who might be able to take this advice. Or if you are older than me, it's never too late. All that past stuff works together for good at one point. I'm trusting it will at some point. I'll see why. I mean, I did have a lot of good experiences, and even the bad experiences, I made it through them, and it gave me a broader understanding of life and what I call the realities of life. So what does it mean? Well, for one, I found out you got to get out of the noise and the chaos, and I'll explain a little bit of that. But society, Western civilization, as I like to say it, is designed to not let you find yourself. Like, that is the intention of it. Because a whole bunch of people who are content with very little, like I am, they're not a good workforce. We have big corporations that are counting on people pursuing the lies of society so that they'll trade the majority of their waking hours for a job that they hate and is empty for the little bit of a reward that they get, which is also the promise of a big reward. Now, I'm speaking vague, but I'll get in more detail. But that's how I see society. I see Western society, Western civilization. I do use the word civilization. I'll explain it sometime. And I don't think that's what America had to be, but it is. And I don't think it's what it should be. I don't think it's what it needs to be. But again, I'm speaking very vague. I'll get into more detail. But you get hit with a barrage of things so that you can't find out who you are down here. There's a still voice within you, inside of you, speaking to your deepest desires. And if you're up in here, you'll never hear it, because you get hit with a barrage, whether it's in advertising or whether it's in fear-mongering from the media or from podcasters, or the fashion industry. You're not keeping up. The body industry. You got to get this so that you'll be attractive enough. You got to spend enough hours at the gym or you won't be attractive enough. The auto industry. If you're not in the latest vehicle, you're missing out. Auto industry, I could go on that one. But it's all these things screaming at you and pulling at you to keep you up in here. I need this, I need this, I need this, I want that, I want that. And it keeps you from listening down here to what truly will satisfy you. I'm not giving a name to this because I'm not trying to push anything. I'm just saying I believe that we all have an internal voice that leads us, but we can't hear it. And that's what meditation does. Meditation is amazing if you can calm yourself and relax and tell yourself all of that stuff is just a storm that's blowing at my door, and I need to close the door and keep it out so that inside I can stay calm and at peace. And that's what meditation can do for you, hopefully for you. It works for me, where I remember all the stuff that I want is unnecessary, most of it, until I get down to the core of what is necessary. And that's the question. What is necessary? And what's my purpose? What's my goal? I guess I have a theory that we all have a purpose. That doesn't mean that we're all going to change the world, but we're going to change our own world and the people around us. And I don't know what that purpose is. That's for you to find out. I'm just here to guide you, to tell you how to find it, to lead you in the direction. And it's up to you to find it. If you can't do that, then you can't step into your purpose. And so I want to talk about, that's, like I say, the way that the society works is to hit you with a barrage so that you never get down here and you're continually wanting and pursuing. You get a few carrots. We live in a time of human history where it's the most convenient, the most comfortable than humans have ever been able to live. Air conditioning. It's huge. And if you get a modern home without vaulted ceilings and not a whole bunch of weird rooms, well insulated, you don't have to deal with the heat. If it's 100 degrees, you can run that air conditioning. If it's cold out and you got heating in a well insulated home, you don't have to deal with the cold. We live in this crazy time of human history where it's pretty easy. But they also throw at us all this stuff that we don't need. And that's what keeps us wanting more. And I could go on and on about that, but I want to focus on more about who we are and what we're made up of, so that you might be able to isolate the different facets of who you are and start to work on those. This is what I believe is the key to life. And I got a whiteboard, so I'm going to bring that in here. Hopefully it's set up well enough for it. There we go. And hopefully my markers work, because they've been sitting in my hot truck for a long time. So a human, a person, all of us are made up of three components. One is, whoops, that was supposed to be it. Our mind, and two is our personality, and three is our purpose. Purpose is kind of a placeholder for now. It's my theory that we all have a purpose. But I guess defining purpose, like I said, it doesn't mean changing the world, but it changes the people that you're involved with, your family, your friends, and whoever is involved in your community. Now, here's the thing. These two they're fixed. They don't change. Your personality you're born with. Your purpose is inherent. Those two don't change. Your mind, that's what it was, your thoughts. We're made up of our thoughts. I think that's even better. Yes, because it's our thoughts that guide us. And now, our thoughts can change. We get our thoughts through our personality. There's a lot of studies that say that we gain, the majority of our decision making is established by the time we're 8 or 9 years old. Like 90% of our way of relating to events in life, our survival strategies emotionally, are established by the time we're 8 or 9. We're still impressionable. We still learn them a lot through our teens. But after that, we change very little. And I believe that the reason for that is change comes from intense emotional experiences. And when we're younger, we feel emotion. We feel so much intensity, very intensely. Not everybody, varying degrees. I feel it very much. I've talked to people who have told me they envy that because they just I never feel real strongly. But anyway, when we're younger, we do feel that more, and change comes from an emotional experience, a very intense experience. That's where we make decisions. Like, you go through something traumatizing, you're like, I don't want to go through that again, and you make a change. You go through something that's just kind of mildly irritating, like maybe traffic. It's not so intense that, no, I don't want to change. I'm not going to change it. It's worth it. I guess, so that's an example. You go through something traumatizing, it's enough that I got to change this. Mildly irritating, I can deal with it. The mildly irritating might be as destructive for you as the other event. It just goes slower. It takes longer. Like, why am I always broke, living paycheck to paycheck? No, it's because I'm buying all this stuff that I don't need. But you know what? This stuff gets me through my day, and I do have enough money. It's paycheck to paycheck, but I'm surviving. It's what I've always known. So you don't make a change. Then a financial crisis happens, whatever that might be, and now you realize I got to get my spending habits in order. I got to get a less expensive apartment. I don't need this 2-bedroom apartment. I can get by with a studio or 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom. Not saying that we need to settle for less. I'm just that's a whole nother discussion. But that's the difference between, that's where our thoughts, okay, back to our thoughts. We get our thoughts based on how we grow up. And I say it's different from personality because you could take 2 children in the same household going through basically the same thing, and based on their personality, they're going to come up with different solutions. Let's say they have a dad that gets angry, flies off the handle, occasionally. Based on your personality, you're going to handle that differently. Who are you? Some people hate anger. Some people just like, he got mad, and then you get mad. You're like, I got mad. It just happens. So it might not affect them, but another person, it affects them deeply. So their personality influences their thoughts. And now, let's just keep going with that. You could realize, oh, that person, my dad that got angry, he never hit anybody. He was dealing with frustrations, and that's how it came out. It wasn't that he hated me. It wasn't that I know now you think that I'm talking about my own life. Not really. Just trying to come up with a good example. So you learn, oh, life is very frustrating. You get older, we start to understand our parents better. Life is very difficult. So, wow, he flew off the handle, but he kept a job that provided for the family. He always repaired the cars. He always spent time with the family on the weekends. And so you could, through your thoughts, change your thoughts. You can change those. These are flexible. Oh yeah, I was going to use a symbol. I don't know if that's appropriate use, but it makes sense to me. Because this one is flexible. It's roughly, it's about average. It can change is the point. Maybe that's not good. But like I said, these are fixed. So, but the problem is we prioritize thoughts and we go through life with these as laws. And they control our purpose and our personality. Like in a personal example, my thoughts. I needed to make a lot of money. I didn't want to live this way until I had enough money, residual income, so that I could pay for things but do what I wanted to do. Because, okay, a personal example, my dad, I had a great dad, but he didn't care about making money. And that weighed on my mom. And as a kid, I always wanted to be married. And I didn't want to put my family through that. So I did want to live the way I wanted to, like this. I wanted to do stuff. I hated having jobs. And, but I didn't want to have a financial burden on my family, the financial stress. And so I thought that was important. I prioritized that, and it pushed my personality and my purpose on the back burner. I have had some financial success, but pursuing money was not the way to go. And the irony that you find is that when you prioritize this, everything else comes together. That's why I like to say that money is a cult. It can easily take priority, and when you prioritize it, this stuff gets pushed back, and you have to control money. And that's done by living first for your purpose and your personality. So you got to find out who you are. And ideally that would happen when you're young and in your family, that your parents would help you discover your talents, what you enjoy. I didn't know that I enjoyed learning. When I was in kindergarten, first grade, I was a great student. I loved learning. I didn't like my first grade teacher. She was a hag, but like she kind of ruined the learning experience, but I was smart. Learning came easy for me. I loved being around a bunch of kids. And but then in the second grade, that's where my home life, my parents started to argue a lot. That really hurt me internally. And so I started hating school. I started doing really bad at school. I was kindergarten and first grade, the kids all loved me. I had tons of friends. We usually ran around the schoolyard doing what I wanted to do. But then, like I say, in the second grade, my world changed. And I didn't figure this out until later in life, recognizing. But if you, just from that little example, you can see that my personality, I love learning. I didn't regain my love for learning until until probably in my 30s, probably mid 30s thereabouts. So I wasted all those years not realizing how much I love to learn. So that I like being around people. I loved being in a classroom setting. Not necessarily in the classroom. I hated how they made us sit, which public school rant. We'll need to do a video on that. But anyway, I'm pointing out that how you can discover your personality by looking back at things. And but my thoughts got altered in the second grade, and then I hated school. My teachers were not good. They didn't create a good environment. They didn't make things interesting, and so I quickly, because I hated school, I thought that I hated learning, and so that's my thoughts. So my thoughts controlled my personality and my purpose. Those got put on the back burner because I had the wrong thoughts. And so, but then later in life, by analyzing my past and other steps that you can do for this, I started to discover what my personality was. I went through some experiences of where I learned something and I realized, man, I really enjoy this. And I started doing it more and more, and having little bits of success, I started to realize I enjoyed it, and I started to realize when I lost it. But like I say, ideally you would discover this stuff in childhood, in a family. So if you're a parent, this is your purpose as a parent, is to help your children understand this by finding what brings them joy, what brings them peace, what they pursue on their own. You don't have to encourage them to do it. You don't have to force them to do it. I mean, there's some ways that maybe force is the wrong word, but like if they have a tendency toward music, they don't want to practice. I don't know. We get into that in another time. Because then their thoughts will be consistent with their personality, or your thoughts will be consistent with your personality. I pursued money for the wrong reason. My thoughts were not consistent with my personality or my purpose. I thought they were good thoughts. They were even noble thoughts. I don't want my family to be stressed financially. Well, sure, okay, that's good. So make sure you have a good income. But having to be wealthy, I took it too far. And why would I want a wife that can't join me on my mission? So it wasn't necessarily conducive to the best lifestyle. It made sense. It seemed noble, but it was ultimately not. So your personality, other things you can do is ask people who know you. I went through a period where I was doing this. People that were in my life. I said, how do you view me? What's your perception of me? What are the first thoughts when you think of me, about me? What comes to your mind? And if you do this, you'll be surprised. I've always thought of myself as a fearful, timid, insecure, not attractive person. And when I did this, people were like, well, confident, brave. I'm like, what? Okay, you don't know me. But I also had to say, okay, I don't know me. And that doesn't necessarily mean that those people are right. That's the other thing when you're asking for feedback about yourself. They're not necessarily right. All you're asking for is a perception, because it's a good emotional experience when you realize this is how people view me. There'll be some negative. I got a lot of negative from that particular friend group. They thought I was overbearing, manipulative, and like that was wild. because my intentions for everybody is love. And I push people because I don't want to see people waste their life. And but people don't like that. And so when you get feedback, it's not necessarily going to be right, but it's always useful. Because the question is, okay, then what do I do that makes myself come across that way? Maybe they'll be right. You have to genuinely ask yourself, are they correct? And you got to ask them more questions. Okay, so if I come across as this, can you think of anything that makes you think that? Whether it's, oh, I think of you as confident, or I think of you as overbearing. It's hard to get feedback, though. We live in a society that this is anathema to tell somebody your true thoughts about them. And yet it's so essential, because otherwise you just go along the ride with the wrong thoughts. So that's one way you can start to dig into who you are if you don't know. To discover your personality, ask people, look at the things, look at the patterns in your life. This is the other one. Watch your patterns. What have you done all your life? Do you keep a consistent schedule? Do you drive the same route to the places that you go regularly? Do you have regular stores, regular restaurants? Or do you mix it up? Do you just go to stores randomly? That kind of stuff is personality. And it might just seem like it's just normal, but when you start to analyze it, you realize, oh, this is my way of doing things. This isn't how everybody does things. A good example of that is when I go to a restaurant, I'll go to the restaurant that I know I like, and I'll order the same thing that I know I like. I hate ordering anything off of a menu that I haven't tried before. That's my personality. I know what I like. I like particular things, and like when I would eat out a lot, I don't so much now. But I had my certain restaurants. They're the only ones that I'd go to because I knew that they had what I liked. And so it was like, am I in the mood for a gyro today? And I had to go in, have them make my fries the way that I liked them. Otherwise, they'd go in the garbage. And to me, fries have to be really extra crispy. And if they're not, like, I don't even want them. So it goes from the extreme of these are amazing and I can't stop eating them to I don't even want them, based on whether they cooked them for an extra 5 or 6 minutes. This one place, they knew when I came in, they dropped the fries for 10 minutes. And sometimes the cook would even see me walking in the door, he'd just start the fries when I walked in because they took so much longer. That's a personality thing. I didn't know that was my thing until I went through some personal development stuff. Because other people, they would hate to do that. They're like, they'll go to a restaurant and they're like, oh, I ordered that last time. There's no way I'm going to order that this time. Or they can't eat, there's people who can't eat leftovers. Like you take home your food from the restaurant and they're like, I don't understand that. But that's how some people are. And so we think we tend to think that what we do is normal. But if you start to recognize the way that other people behave and the way that you behave, you start to realize your personality and who you are. When you start to define your personality, you can start to figure out your purpose. Let's see if this works. If you're into music, if you're a musician, your purpose here would be the instrument that you play. I play guitar and harmonica and I sing. So that would be like singing. Purpose falls into singing. Your personality Oh, your thoughts would be your skill level. So the level of skill that you bring to the instrument that you play is your thoughts and your purpose. I'm not a great musician. I'm not a great singer. I've got a good voice is what I'm told. I have a good range, but I can tend to go flat and sharp at the wrong times. So my skill level isn't high, but I have a voice, and I have an ability on guitar, and I have an ability with harmonica. And our personality would be the flair, the uniqueness that we bring to it, the passion. And that's where I bloom, that's where I thrive in music. Like, I have told people, I'm not ashamed to say that I'm not a great musician, but people have told me, well, you're really good live. Like, I do the best live because of that enthusiasm I bring. And you catch the inflections in my voice. And so that's with music. I don't know if that helps at all. For some reason earlier, I thought that might be helpful. But to create your creative life, your thoughts are the skill you bring to the purpose that you've chosen in life. So purpose can be generic. It can be, well, my purpose is raising a family. My purpose is being a gardener. And gardens are amazing. And if you have a garden that people can visit and can enjoy the food from, they'll notice, wow, that's special. This is way better than this crap I get at the grocery store. And if you can show people how you garden, they get their hands into the dirt, the soil, and pulling weeds and harvesting fruit. That's meaningful inside that people can't deny. And so that could be your purpose. If you find that you enjoy it, you like the order of keeping things in order, you like the fulfillment that you get from keeping the weeds out that are destructive. Maybe you leave some weeds in as a ground cover. They call them weeds. I don't call most things weeds, but and then your personality is what you bring to it. Maybe you throw some flowers in there so that when it's harvest time, there's some late bloom flowers, and it all looks beautiful, and all the rows are perfectly straight. Maybe you throw in some Three Sisters type stuff. I started to do some personality with my garden I had a garden instead of a yard. If it displayed my personality, it was chaos with order behind it. I found out that I do not like the daily routine of keeping up a garden. My personality, I don't like to do stuff daily. If your personality is that you do like doing stuff daily, you like a routine, like you thrive on it, then gardening might be your purpose. Or if gardening is your purpose. And so gardening, like I say, gardening can be generic, a basic thing that a lot of people do. But it's our thoughts, our skill level that we bring to it, like how much you learn about it. I've learned a lot about gardening since living this life. That shade is almost as important or more important sometimes than water. I live in a great area where it's arid, but we have irrigation. So we have an abundance of water here, but we also live in the desert. And so it's fascinating to see what happens when you add just a little bit of water. But I was blown away when I saw what happens when you add shade. I won't go into that anymore, but that's your skill level that you bring to your purpose, and your personality comes out making it unique. This is what we talk about in arts of finding your voice. I call it who you are, your personality essentially. When you can add this, when you can get this under control, and you find this, and you add that, you are now an artist. which is another video, my definition of art. That's just like comedy. So, okay, you've chosen comedy, that's your purpose. Your thoughts are, okay, what makes a joke? How do I work on stage? What's some tools I can find for relaxing? I am a comedian. Anybody can be a comedian. I mean, these are the things you got to tell yourself so that you can, so that you keep doing it. Okay, everybody fails. Everybody bombs occasionally. These are the thoughts that keep you going. Your personality is what you're after. You want to get relaxed enough on stage so that your personality can come out. For some reason, I love being on stage, but I was really nervous when I was a comedian. And finally, when I overcame that, my personality started to come out, and that's when I really started to do well. I didn't have a lot of those experiences because it kind of came near the end of my comedy journey. But when my personality started to come out on stage, that's when it really started to become a good show. Your personality also comes out in the jokes you write. So if you're stealing jokes from other people, this is why it's so weird that comedians would want to do that. Some people steal jokes, some people steal ideas. They're so hard up for ideas because they're not finding their personality. They're not finding their voice in comedy. Almost all of my comedy was my own. There was like 2 jokes that I got. My brother gave me one, but the only reason I used it is because I was like, oh, that joke is very much me. It fit in with me. And it was only one out of like 100 jokes that I did. And then another one where a guy roasted me. Oops, shoot. A guy roasted me, a comedian, in a parking lot. He told me a joke, and it was funny. And then I worked it into a joke. So I shaped it into my own. So both of them came out as my personality. I also had to kind of rewrite my brother's joke to make it work. So I don't understand why people want to steal other people's ideas, because they're up in here. They're not doing comedy out of here, where if they're just confident in their purpose, they get their thoughts right, believing, oh yeah, I am funny. All I've got to do is find the things, my view on the world, and turn it into jokes. Then they write out of their own personality. They're finding their voice. Same with writing novels, writing movies. But I don't have personal experience in those. I'm working on novels. I'm working on movies, but I haven't done them. So I don't have personal experience. Personally, I think all of life is an artistic work. I think our entire lives that you can look at them are an artistic work. I believe that my definition of art is reality filtered through an individual. So take this is reality, purpose, the things that life offers us that we can do, is purpose, that's reality, what exists out there. Are you going to be a writer? Are you going to be a gardener? Are you going to be a musician? Are you going to be a truck driver? Are you going to be a mechanic? Are you going to rebuild old vehicles? Are you going to rebuild houses? Are you going to design gypsy wagons? All of that falls under purpose. That's the options that life gives us to live. Our thoughts are what we bring to it, as I've already described many times. So life, reality. Reality is our thoughts and our purpose, the things that exist in the world. That's reality, filtered, gone through the filter of your personality, and that's art. So anything can be an artistic work. Like I say, raising your kids can be an artistic work. Gardening can be an artistic work. Your daily routine can be an artistic work. I think that because then what we talk about is medium. What's your medium? Are you a sculptor? Are you a painter? But I don't think that expression is limited to those traditional mediums. Anyway, this wasn't about my definition of art. I'll talk about that another time. So anyway, I hope this is helpful. It sounded good in my head, and that's why I came over here to make this video. I hope my hat and this whiteboard are in frame. Guys, I love my life now. I was depressed most of my life. I used to hate myself. I used to tell myself I was stupid. All kinds of that kind of stuff. I used to deal with intense loneliness. And maybe that should be another video. I'm happy to talk about it. Hopefully it'll help other people. I love life because I gave up the lies of society. I got out here where I could start to think. I hated hurting people, and I was hurting people. And there's people who hate me, who say terrible things about me. And I never intended any of that. I love people. I want everybody to benefit. And so I had to get away from society and figure out what is going on. And now I love my life. I hate going to town because I don't like society. But that's something I figured out. I always wanted to be around people. Like, that is my personality. I get energy. I'm an extrovert. I get energy from being around people. But I've been able to also find out that I like being alone. I learned to recharge by being alone because I am so unique. I don't fit. I don't mean unique as in I'm special. I just mean I don't fit in with people. And so I don't want to conform. That puts up structures that I don't want to live within. So out here, I can be myself. I can be emotional. I can be dramatic. And I don't have to affect other people. I don't have to hurt other people. I don't have to change to fit in. And that society is another discussion that I'll talk about. I think it's important. I think a community is important. I think societal rules are important. And that's why I don't disrupt my neighbors. I think it's really important to live peacefully among your neighbors. It's not like I'm out here just being selfish. That's not my intent. I'm out here to be myself. And I love it because I got away from society. I minimized my life. I used to have so much crap, so much junk. It just weighed on my mind. Now, I keep minimizing. I need to minimize more. I have a hobby of reenacting, historical reenacting, that I'm having a hard time giving up, but that would minimize my life some more. I'd like to have it down to where I could keep everything I own in just a couple of barrels. I use storage barrels. You can't see them, but I've got them set around here. That's why they come to mind. I'd like to have my stuff reduced to where I could put it on a pack horse. Because when I'm out camping, I'm even further out from society, and I'm like, this is all I need, is this camping gear that I've got. And then I come here and I think, well, no, I need this, I need that. I need multiple pots to cook in. And that's not so bad. But this, to a more degree than camping. And you guys in society, you're even way beyond where I'm at for what it takes to live. So there's all these things tugging and pulling at you. And I can say from experience, it's freedom getting away from that. I got out here, I live with less now than I've ever lived with all my life. And I'm the happiest I've ever been. And yet I still feel like I have too much tugging at me and pulling on me in different ways. I want to do creative things. Like I mentioned a gypsy wagon. In my mind, I've written it out on paper too. I've got a design for a gypsy wagon that I want to put into reality. But I can't because I got all this crap tugging at me. That's personality. I have a hard time breaking away into things if my mind is not settled. So anyway, I hope this helps. I hope it inspires you. I hope it sends you on a direction. I hope it brings you back to listen to more of my videos. This is the stuff that I find very meaningful. And I love to think. I think this is what I most enjoy doing, is sharing these kinds of thoughts. So I hope my whiteboard and I have been helpful today. Oh yeah, another thing, get out, get away. Find a place where you can relax, out in nature, get away from society, walk away from your car 50 yards, sit by a creek. The soothing sounds of a creek are important. Or go out like my desert property, go out somewhere where it's dead calm. I can go out there and it is absolutely silent. I can't hear anything out there. And go for a walk in an environment like that and see where your thoughts go. See how much your thoughts race, and see if you can listen down here to what your internal voice is saying. See if you can get this part of you to quiet down. Take some deep breaths, whatever. I hope you'll take that advice. I made a joke about this in my live video, because on my other channel I always sign off with life's a lot more fun over on the wild side. I made this as a joke, but now I mean it seriously. Life is a lot more serene and peaceful over on the creek side.